Hello, welcome to World Autism Acceptance Week. My name is Dr. Deborah Baird. I'm a consultant paediatrician and I'm the clinical lead for the social communication team here in Ealing. The commonest social communication diagnosis that we make is autism. We see preschool children mostly, but we also see children aged 6 to 17 if they happen to have a learning disability. One of the questions I get asked most often is, why should I put my child through the assessment process? Why do they need a diagnosis of autism? Well, the answer is sometimes you don't. You don't need a diagnosis of autism to get help. You certainly don't need it to get speech therapy, occupational therapy. You don't need it to be supported by the health visiting services and the early start services. You don't need it to get access to the specialist nurseries or to get additional help in nursery or in school, including EHCP plans. But I do think there are actually good reasons to go ahead with the diagnosis process and see if it applies. That's really more about understanding, awareness, and acceptance. I feel that it helps the people who are around a child if they understand why the child is doing what they do, either communicating the way they do, or making friends or not making friends the way that they do, or some of the behaviours that a child might do, some of the sensory difficulties they might have. I think it's easier for people who either live with the child or help them in school or in nursery to understand this if they know it's because of autism. And it stops children from sometimes being labelled as a bit rude or difficult or stroppy, which isn't fair, because children with autism aren't those things. It's just their brain thinks a little differently, and therefore sometimes they communicate and interact and act a little differently. I also think that having a diagnosis of autism can really help the child themselves, not necessarily when they're at the preschool level, but as they get older, helping them to understand that they have autism, and that's why some things seem harder for them. That might be why making friends is harder. That's why sometimes they maybe misinterpret or misunderstand what's happening with other children. Maybe a birthday party or a family wedding is a bit trickier for them. Why the world seems louder, noisier, busier for them than it seems to be for the rest of the world. Having autism and being able to understand that that's why, there's nothing wrong with them, there's nothing bad about them, it's just their autism, I think can really help them come to terms with who they are and be happy and able to accept who they are. Every one of us is unique and individual, and every person with autism is unique and individual as well. And we all need to be able to come to terms and accept ourselves. Thank you for listening.